I wasn't looking for anything creepy that day. Honestly, I just wanted silence. It was a weekday, so I took off work, packed a small bag, and drove out to a state forest trail I had bookmarked months earlier. The kind of place with faded signs, scratched up maps, and warnings mostly about ticks and wildlife. Quiet. Empty. Exactly what I wanted. Only 3 cars sat in the parking lot. One even had a baby seat in the back, and weirdly, that made me relax. Normal people were here. Families. Hikers. Nothing strange. I switched my phone to airplane mode to save battery and started walking. The first couple miles were peaceful. Dirt trail, soft wind through the trees, water rushing in a nearby creek from recent rain. Everything felt normal until I reached a split in the trail. The official path went left. But to the right, there was another trail. Unmarked. Narrow. Just a faint opening through the ferns, like people used it enough to keep it alive. I stood there way too long thinking about it. Then I went right. Almost immediately, the woods felt different. Quieter. The trees seemed closer together, and the air felt heavier somehow. The trail wasn't abandoned, though. It looked maintained. Just unofficial. About 15 minutes in, I noticed strips of blue plastic tied around branches. One. Then another. At first I thought it was trash, but they kept appearing often enough that I realized someone had marked the path deliberately. That should have been enough for me to turn back. But nothing bad had happened yet. So I kept going. Eventually the trees opened into a clearing, and that's where I saw the cabin. Old. Gray. Sagging roof. One broken window. The place looked rotten but not forgotten. Like something still used it. And the second I saw it, I had this horrible feeling that I wasn't alone anymore. No sound. No movement. Just that instinct. The feeling of eyes on you. Then I noticed the footprints near the front steps. Bare human footprints pressed deep into the dirt. Several of them. Not random either. Clustered near the door and window like people stood there for long periods of time. Every part of me said leave. Instead, I walked closer. The cabin door wasn't locked. That bothered me more than if it had been. I pushed it open slowly. The smell hit first. Damp wood, mold, and something sour underneath it. Sweat maybe. Wet fur. Human filth. Inside was one room with a broken table, an old rusted stove, and a bed frame without a mattress. But the walls were covered in markings. Words scratched over and over again. Symbols I couldn't understand. Some looked almost readable, others looked insane. And hanging from the ceiling were these little figures made from sticks, cloth, hair, and tiny bones tied together with twine. They swayed gently in the draft. I stayed near the doorway, ready to run. Then I read one sentence scratched deeply into the wall. Stay quiet. Underneath it, another message carved harder and rougher. They hear you thinking. That sentence hit me harder than anything else in the room. I pulled out my phone instinctively, even though there was no signal. The screen lighting up in that cabin suddenly felt wrong. Then I heard it. Clicking. Soft. Fast. Like teeth. It came from outside. I froze. A second later, something slowly scraped against the outer wall. Then came a whispering sound, not words exactly. More like someone trying to imitate human speech. I backed toward the door. And then I saw a face in the broken window. Only for a second. Thin. Pale. Eyes too dark. Hair matted to the scalp. Then it vanished. My heart nearly stopped. A strange broken laugh echoed from the trees. Not a real laugh. Like someone had learned how humans laugh by hearing it from far away. Hello. I called out stupidly. Silence answered me. Then the cabin door shifted. Something on the other side was leaning against it. Slowly. Deliberately. Before I could react, the door burst open. A man came crawling out low to the ground, almost like an animal. Shirtless. Covered in grime. Ribs visible beneath gray skin. His grin stretched too wide across his face. And behind him, more shapes appeared. 3. Maybe 4. Some emerging from the cabin. Others stepping silently from the trees. Feral people. That's the only way I can describe them. Not wild in some natural way. Broken. Wrong. Like humanity stripped apart. One lunged at me and grabbed my backpack strap. I slammed my elbow into his jaw and bolted for the trail. Something tackled me from the side. We hit the dirt hard. Hands clawed at my arms and neck while those clicking. Sounds filled the air around me. The terrifying part was how quiet they stayed otherwise. No screaming. No shouting. Just coordinated movement. Like they'd hunted people before. I scrambled free and ran back into the cabin because somehow four walls felt safer than open woods. I slammed the door shut. Almost instantly fingers pushed through a crack near the frame, clawing for the latch. That's when I noticed the plastic jug near the stove. Cloudy liquid inside. Gasoline. My brain latched onto one idea immediately. Fire. I dumped the gasoline across the floor while the door shook violently behind me. A face appeared at the broken window, smiling with stained teeth. My hands shook so badly, I nearly dropped the lighter. Click. Nothing. Click. Flame. Right then, an arm shot through the window and grabbed my wrist. Another figure lunged forward and bit into my hand. The pain exploded through me instantly. I screamed, and when it pulled away, my ring finger was gone, bitten completely off. Blood poured down my hand while my brain struggled to process what had just happened. Then survival took over. I dropped the lighter onto the gasoline trail. The cabin erupted in flames almost immediately. Smoke rolled across the ceiling as the hanging figures caught fire one by one. The creatures outside started panicking, making high screeching noises. I shoved the broken table beneath the window, climbed up, and threw myself through the opening. Splinters tore into my skin as I hit the ground outside. Behind me the cabin roared with fire. And through the smoke I could hear screaming. Not trapped screaming. Angry screaming. I ran blindly through the woods until I finally found the blue plastic markers again. This time they guided me out instead of in. The clicking sounds followed me for a while through the trees. Not chasing fully. Just reminding me they were still there. When I finally reached the main trail, the forest sounded normal again. Birds. Wind. Life. I stumbled into the parking lot shaking so badly I could barely unlock my car. I drove until I found signal and called 911. At the hospital, they cleaned the wound and took statements. A deputy questioned me carefully, like he'd heard stories similar to mine before. 2 days later, someone from the county called me. They said they found the burned cabin. They found footprints. Signs people had been living there. But no bodies. No suspects. Nothing. Then they told me something that still keeps me awake at night. The spur trail I described, it doesn't officially exist on any map. Before hanging up, I asked one final question. The writings on the wall, did you see them? There was a long pause. Then the man quietly said, "We're aware." That was it. Sometimes late at night, my missing finger aches like it's still there. And every now and then, when the room gets too quiet, I swear I can still hear that clicking sound. Fast. Excited. Like teeth in the dark.